Hello and welcome. Let's think of this as your personal checkup, okay? Today, we're going to take a close look at the two real powerhouses of your body, your brain and your heart. And we're not just going to look, we're going to map out a clear, simple plan to keep them in fantastic shape as you age. Ready? Let's get started.
So, you have to start with the big question, right? What really happens to our brain and heart as we get older? I mean, we all know things change, but what's actually going on under the hood? Understanding the what is the absolute first step to having any control over how we age. This is the bedrock of everything we're about to talk about.
All right, first up in our checkup, the command center, your brain. Just like any incredibly complex machine, it goes through some pretty predictable changes over the years. But here's the key. Understanding these changes is precisely how we protect it.
Let's try to visualize your brain's communication system. A young brain. It's like a brand new city with a super efficient highway system where information just zips around instantly. Now, as we age, it's like some of those highways get a little less maintained. A few more potholes, a little more traffic. The connections are definitely still there, but communication, it just slows down a bit.
And if we zoom in, here's what's happening. We actually see some structural shrinkage, especially in the frontal cortex, that's for your complex thinking, and the hippocampus, which is your memory hub. That slower processing we just talked about, that's a direct result of neurons just not communicating as efficiently. And if you add in potentially less blood flow and a drop in key brain chemicals like dopamine, well, you can start to see why maybe multitasking feels harder, or why a name is right on the tip of your tongue.
Okay, now let's switch gears and turn to the other half of this equation, the engine room, your heart. It is an unbelievably resilient muscle, but decades of pumping 24/7, that has an effect on its structure and its performance. The most important change often isn't in the heart muscle at first, but in its supply lines, the arteries. When we're young, our arteries are flexible, kind of like new rubber hoses. But as they age, they tend to get stiffer, more rigid. And what does that mean? Well, it means the heart has to pump that much harder to push blood through the whole system. And that puts a major strain on it over time.
And here are the knock-on effects of that constant, heavy workload. To cope, the heart muscle can actually get thicker, which might sound like a good thing, but it can actually make it less efficient. Your maximum heart rate, when you're really pushing it during exercise, that also starts to decline. And because it's always fighting against those stiff arteries, your risk for high blood pressure and even irregular heartbeats, like atrial fibrillation, goes up.
All right, so that was the diagnosis. Now for the most important part of this whole conversation, the prescription. We've seen what happens, but listen, we are far from helpless. There are incredibly powerful, science-backed steps you can take to support both your brain and your heart.
So here it is, your Vitality Plan, and we've broken it down into 3 simple core pillars. Now, the real beauty of this plan is that these actions don't just help one organ or the other, they create this amazing system-wide benefit. It's so true. What is good for the heart is absolutely good for the brain.
Let's start with what might be the single most powerful medicine we have, and that's movement. Now, this is not about running marathons, okay? It's about making consistent physical activity a complete non-negotiable part of your daily routine.
So why does it matter so much? Well, daily movement directly fights back against many of those aging processes we just talked about. It helps keep your arteries flexible, which improves circulation everywhere. And that means more oxygen, more nutrients getting delivered to every single cell in your brain and your heart. It keeps the heart muscle itself strong, helps control that blood pressure, and basically ensures your brain is getting all the good stuff it needs to thrive.
Okay, next up, we need to exercise the brain itself. Now, you can't exactly put your brain on a treadmill, but you can, and you must, challenge it. Think of mental engagement as a workout for your neural network.
Remember that city highway system we talked about? Well, this is how you do the road maintenance and even build new bypasses. Lifelong learning, picking up an instrument, reading a tough book, that actually helps create brand new neural connections. This builds something we call cognitive reserve. It's basically a backup system that your brain can use. And at the same time, things like being social and doing challenging puzzles, they strengthen the roads you already have, keeping communication fast and sharp.
And finally, step 3. It's all about the fuel. Think about it. You can't build a strong house with cheap materials, and you can't maintain a healthy body and brain without the right nutrition and, just as important, a calm internal environment.
This really brings it all home. A diet that's packed with things like leafy greens, fatty fish full of omega-3s, and berries bursting with antioxidants, that provides the literal building blocks for a healthy heart and brain. But it's also about managing your internal world, actively keeping your blood pressure in a good range and finding ways to reduce chronic stress. Those are absolutely critical because they protect the delicate blood vessels that feed both of these amazing organs.
So, you see, the goal here isn't to stop aging. That's impossible. The goal is to age with vitality. It's about grabbing the steering wheel and taking proactive control of your health to maintain your function, your sharpness, and your quality of life for as long as you possibly can.
You know, when it comes right down to it, it's this simple, powerful truth. There are no magic pills, no secret formulas. The prescription for vitality has always been right here, grounded in these 3 fundamental pillars of a healthy lifestyle.
So we've gone through the checkup. You've got the health plan right in your hands. The science is totally clear. The only question left is, what's the first step you're going to take? What's one small, concrete thing you'll do today to start investing in your future self?